Check out Paddy's new Kicker feature. If you fancy your team to run riot, add a kicker to your bet. And if your team win big, you win bigger. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello, welcome along to the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast. I'm Dave Clark, joined by colleagues Dan Childs, Mark Langdon. On the line, Adrian Croak from our friends at Paddy Power. Gents, the FA Cup's a distant memory now. We had a full list of fixtures. Premier League at midweek. Anything catch the eye, Mark?
I'd say there was a couple, really. I mean, Manchester City's performance at West Ham was very good, followed on from the easy win at Crystal Palace and the excellent show they put in against Tottenham. They've responded very well to what happened to them. Everton. Even though they didn't beat Spurs, the performance was right up there, and they look like they're back on track. Whether they can catch Chelsea's another matter. Definitely sort of fancy them now in the best of the rest market, if you like. And I also felt Hull 0-0 at Manchester United, and they weren't battered at Old Trafford. I mean, yeah, sure, United had plenty of chances, but they are, they're going to actually, had Markovic's shot crept in rather than hit the post, they would have won that game. So, I mean, all's not sort of lost for them at the bottom. They've got a lot to make up, unfortunately, but certainly their sort of hopelessness of earlier on in the season is it's no longer the case, and that's despite the loss of Snodgrass and Ryan Mason through injury. They've lost Jake Livermore. I think the manager looks like he could be something quite decent, even if Hull get relegated.
Dan, the attention was drawn to Mourinho more than the performance of Hull, sadly. Is he losing the plot? He's going for the sort of Britney Spears stage of shaving the head like she did. And
there was a situation last season with Chelsea, wasn't there, as well, when, the things started going against him and then all the toys sort of come out the pram, didn't they? And I just think not just that game against Hull. I mean, I know they didn't need to win the second leg in the EFL Cup second leg, but I mean their performance in that match was absolutely appalling. I mean, if anything, they were worse in that game, than they were in the 0-0 draw, last night. But I just think that they've been in this winning run that Man United have had. I wasn't totally convinced by their performances. They were nicking a lot of games by the odd goal. And they do look to me like where they should be. They look the weakest of the six teams up there, and I'm not so sure they're going to turn it around. I mean, the other thing about the week, the Arsenal, the standout result was Watford's 2-1 win at Arsenal. I mean, that was just an absolutely stunning result and a shocker for Arsenal, who in the first half I don't know. I think they looked as if they thought they would just turn up and win the game. They didn't work hard enough. Got pressed. Couldn't handle it for 45 minutes, and could have been 3 or 4 down at half time. So that's. I was looking at Arsenal. I mean, I've mentioned on here before that the run they had, if they'd have gone into Chelsea with a win there, they would have been going into that match with a chance of putting some real pressure on them. But that result, I think, just finishes their title hopes off.
And Adrian Croak on the line from Paddy Power. Adrian, any market reaction to the midweek fixtures, sort of title or relegation?
Well, really, it's just moved Chelsea into 3-10 now to win the league, which is actually getting backed as well. The relegation battle, though, is the more interesting one. Swansea have really kind of dragged about 4 more teams down into it with the results over the last few weeks, and Leicester kind of shortening up to 6-1 now to get relegated, which for a team that won it last year, it's quite interesting.
Did anything catch the eye midweek for you outside of what the lads have flagged up?
Swansea's win at home to Southampton. I mean, Southampton, they've just got bad luck really this season, but they've just not been able to score. Probably one of the worst shot conversion rates of any team in the Premier League. And Swansea winning 2-1 at home. I haven't seen the match obviously, but reading all about it looked like Southampton probably should have done better and probably deserved more than they got there.
Okay, Mark Langdon, let's talk transfer window. The January transfer window has shut. Anything catch the eye?
I mean, Gabriel Jesus has made a stunning start to
19-year-old.
I mean, for some, we usually say, that they'll need a bit of time to settle in, particularly if they're young, coming from, Brazilian football. I mean, he has lit up Manchester City. I mean, he was unlucky not to score against Tottenham. Made a very decisive impact, really, in that game. And he seems to give them up front what Guardiola's been frustrated with Aguero all season, that ability to run hard and press the opposition defenders. And the energy. I mean, Aguero's absolute world-class finisher, no doubt about that. he doesn't enjoy doing that side of the game quite as much as what Jesus is doing early on. And I just thought Hull as well. I mean, Markovic lost his way completely at Liverpool, being sent out on loan. But when he signed for Liverpool, there was a big fuss made about him. So, he could be an important player for Hull. And also they signed Ranocchia, who found life a little bit difficult at Inter most recently. But you're not asking him to play for somebody at the top of Serie A now. You're asking, I think that's a good signing right down the bottom of the Premier League. He's got no pace, but he's a physical defender, a lot of experience. He's played right at the highest level for club and country. So for Hull to be on their budget to be able to bring in somebody like that, I thought that was a very wise signing, particularly with Curtis Davis out for a few weeks now.
And Dan, obviously perhaps distorted somewhat by Oscar's £60 million transfer over to China, but the net spend of Premier League has been usurped by the selling.
Yeah, I think it's the China factor, isn't it? You've got the Oscar deal that you just mentioned. I mean, Igalo went for 20 million, on the last day of the window as well. Not been anywhere near getting in the Watford team at the moment. So that's distorting it really.
So he won't be a miss for them, you don't think?
No, I don't think he. I mean, he did a fantastic job getting the team up and helping them stay up last season. But he's really gone off the boil this season and wasn't really going to be getting anywhere near the starting lineup with it. I mean, one of the signings I was going to mention is Mbaye Niang, who they've got on loan from Milan, who made apparently a really good debut at Arsenal and gave Gabriel all sorts of problems in his first match. So that looks a really good signing for Watford. And Stoke, I think, have had a good win. They only made 2 signings, but looking at the value aspect, Lee Grant, who's been excellent all season. I mean, we look at the sort of fees that are being bandied around these days. 1.3 million for a very good goalkeeper, Premier League goalkeeper, and he may end up being back up for Butland when he comes back if Jack Butland proves himself. But still a really good keeper. And Berahino, I mean, I know he's lost his way, but £12 million when
finally got the transfer.
Well, yeah, not so long ago. I mean, they're talking about asking for 25, 30 million pounds. Got it for 12 million. Still reasonably young, and he has got a lot of talent and ability. And if that's brought out of him, that we might look back on that deal as being a really shrewd one.
Okay, right. Enough of that chat, and we'll go for a quick break, and then we'll tackle the 4 weekend live games.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Right, gentlemen, absolute cracker to kick us off. Chelsea at home to Arsenal. Mark Langdon, how do we see this one going?
I think it'll go with form, really, I suppose. And I expect Chelsea to win the game. And a little bit surprising, not odds on, actually.
Let's get a show quickly. Adrian, just quickly give us a show there.
Well, they've just won a shade of odds on there, actually. 19-20 now, Chelsea. The draw is 12-5, and Arsenal 16-5.
So go shorten it up, Mark.
Yeah, they are. And I can only see that market moving one way, really. Chelsea left Anfield with, I think, what they were happy with. A point. They controlled the first half pretty well. It was a bit difficult in the second period, but you have a look at them at home. They've won 10 of 11 in the Premier League, and Arsenal just have too many bad halves of games. You saw them, they were controlling the game at Everton, end up losing it. They found themselves 3-0 down at Bournemouth. They were able to rectify that situation against Preston. I mean, Preston could have been out of sight before Arsenal turned that one around. I advised a bet on Southampton on this the Postcast last week. I didn't realise that Southampton were going to play their entire reserve team, and that enabled Arsenal to win that game. But then they were back doing what they've been doing for several weeks, and that was getting another poor half against Watford. They did improve a lot in the second period and put Watford under a lot of pressure. But if they start slowly again, there's no pegging back Chelsea from, I would say, probably from 1 down at Stamford Bridge, never mind 2 or 3. Defensively, just not good enough, Arsenal. They're conceding far too many chances. I don't like them in central midfield at the moment. They look a little bit weak there. Chelsea are not the best team in the Premier League. That's Manchester City, but Chelsea are certainly the most consistent and
they're efficient at getting the
very
result,
efficient defensively. And going forward, I expect Pedro probably to come back for Willian. Pedro, Hazard, and Costa, I think would just be too much for an Arsenal team that very rarely enjoys a trip to Stamford Bridge at the best of times.
Okay, before we get Dan's view, let's get the layers view. Giving us the show, Adrian, how do you see it going? And you mentioned that you're seeing a lot of money for Chelsea.
Yeah, I'd pretty much be in agreement there. I mean, I do only see this going one way. The only thing is maybe Chelsea can't afford to draw these games at this stage. They don't have to push forward for the wins. Their lead is that large in the Premier League. All they have to do is really beat the other teams and hold their own against the teams challenging at the top. But yeah, Arsenal, their defence is just as weak really as Liverpool's, and doesn't get the slating it that probably deserves. But yeah, they struggled against Watford midweek. Chelsea definitely, if they're going odds on now, if there's any, I can't see it going any direction other than that now.
Dan, are we already seeing the Arsenal sort of traditional capitulation a little bit early this year?
Yeah, like it. I mean, I can understand the draw argument on both counts actually, because I mean, people talk about Arsenal's title challenge, but I think they would go into the game now and think, to get a point now in looking at the top four, race for the top four will be a good result for them. But I just think at the moment there is quite a gap between the teams, and like Mark's said, I was expecting Chelsea to be odds on. I think a fair price would be around the 8 to 11 mark, and so if you're getting just narrowly odds on, I think Chelsea are value here. And the key is the difference in defence. Chelsea conceded 16 goals in the Premier League this season, Arsenal 25. That's quite a large gap at this stage of the season. 8 wins in a row at home for Chelsea in the Premier League as well. I mean, they're really becoming a fortress, Stamford Bridge, and I don't think Arsenal can play as badly as they did against Watford. I think they may well put in an improved performance, but I don't think it'll be enough to stop Chelsea.
Okay, right. That's a lot of love for Chelsea against North London rivals Arsenal, and another side from North London, Tottenham. Mark are hosting Middlesbrough in the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. How do we see that one going?
Yeah, I wouldn't be backing Spurs at really short prices for this game. I mean, Rose went off against Sunderland. I don't know what his status is for the game.
A month, I think.
He's a very important player for Tottenham, particularly with Vertonghen out. That's like the whole of that left-hand side. I mean, I know fullbacks, generally speaking, you're more thinking about defensive aspect, but Rose is so important to Tottenham as an attacking outlet because they haven't really got width in their midfield. Yeah. So I think that's a really big blow for Tottenham, and it means that you basically concentrate on stopping Kyle Walker because you haven't got both of them coming. So I was looking at this being a low-scoring game. I mean, Middlesbrough tight defensively, but I mean they've really don't make the most of their control that they have in midfield. They haven't got much up front. But they have drawn Arsenal and Man City this season, and it was very late on at Old Trafford that they lost the game. So there's 2 ways I'm going to play this one. I think the draw could be a value play, given Spurs couldn't break Sunderland down in midweek. But I also would like to have a bit of a saver on Tottenham to win by 1 goal. Because if they get that goal, it's hard to see Middlesbrough scoring themselves. So whether that be Tottenham to win by 1, Spurs 1-0, something like that, with and sort of no goal scorer there. I'm playing around those kind of prices really. And
very surprising that Spurs were unable to grab the 3 points at Sunderland midweek. Adrian, you got any show for there? And what was it, Mark? To win by a goal.
Spurs to win by a goal and the draw.
So the show is 1 to 4 Tottenham, 5 to 1 to draw, and Middlesbrough 12 to 1. And if you want to back Spurs to win just by 1 goal, that's 5 to 2.
Would you be lumping on at those short prices, Adrian?
No, I couldn't be backing at that 1 to 4, but I kind of in agreement. I think a low goal scoring affair might be your best one here, and you can get the unders at 5 to 4, so might be going towards that.
Dan, the league positions of both sides would perhaps warrant the 1 to 4, but I mean that seems very short.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking the 1 to 4. I do think Spurs will win the game, but I don't think it'll be a goal fest. I think a lot will depend on. I mean, apart from Rose, I think Dembele took a knock as well, and that might actually help Spurs just to get that a bit extra width into the game. Because if Sissoko comes in and they drop Eriksen into the midfield, then it might they might get a little bit of joy out of Sissoko playing down the flank. But I think Middlesbrough, they have been tight defensively, and they're not going to be easy to break down. But you just can't see where they're going to get the goals from. Negredo is the obvious threat. I think Spurs with Rose, I mean, it takes away part of their going forward. But I think defensively they don't really lose anything because Ben Davies is a decent defensively. So I just think, and maybe a narrow Spurs win at home. And I was looking at the win to nil prices. Spurs 10 to 11 to win to nil. Like I say, defensively, they still look pretty solid.
Okay, right. Let's get the best bet of the weekend, gentlemen.
This will not be beaten.
Kick off with the lads in the studio, then we get prices and a selection from Adrian. Dan Childs, far away.
Yeah, I've got a bit of an outsider here. I mean, Notts County, since Kevin Nolan has gone in, have improved. They're 10 to 3 to win away to Accrington, both on 26 points in League Two, both in the relegation battle. There's not a lot between the teams, but Notts County won 2-1 against Crawley, having been down to 10 men in the last home game. So that has given them a big confidence boost. Apparently they deserve to win the game as well. So they're now going to Accrington. Accrington have won 3 home games in the league all season. That's obviously very poor. Notts County have won 5 away games this season, despite having a poor season. So I just think they're overpriced at 10 to 3.
Mark Langdon, hoping you've got an obscure continental one for us.
No, I've not managed to get through all the German stuff this week. I'm going to go for Fulham to win at Birmingham. Birmingham yet to win under Gianfranco Zola. I mean, it looked like a madness decision at the time to replace Gary Rowett with Zola. I think one of the problems here is that Zola's kind of working with some of these new players that are still adjusting to the league that he's brought in from foreign climes, and he's got some of the Rowett players that can't play the way that he wants to. So it's going to be a mess until he can, if he gets to summer, to kind of sort it out. This is not the time to be changing styles, philosophy, and a whole team, and it just looks like a real just mismatch at the moment. I mean, they were beaten by Reading 1-0 at St Andrews in midweek, and that was at St Andrews, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was.
They were at home to, and Fulham, despite being below Reading in the table, are a lot better side. I really like.
They're going
Fulham.
all right.
They look like a team really that should be getting in the playoffs come the end of the season. You can't say the same for Birmingham. I think there's a big gap in class, and that Fulham have been smashed up after they won in midweek, but I think they'll win.
Be a side to keep on side in the coming weeks. Right, Notts County and Fulham. And Adrian Croker, Paddy Power for you. Best bet of the weekend?
I'm going to oppose Man United this weekend and go Leicester with a draw.
All right, interesting. What price is that?
United are 8 to 11 at the moment, and Leicester in a draw are 6 to 5.
Just a straight lay of Man United?
Yeah, that'd be just reckon 8 to 11. As poor as Leicester have been, 8 to 11 looks a bit big for an away day for United. They struggle as of late as well, and I think counter-attack for Leicester might be able to catch them out. Hull were very unlucky last night. Abel Hernandez made a terrible attempt at a breakaway goal when he was 1-on-1 with the keeper, and Markovic was unfortunate with that shot as well at the weekend.
Okay, we'll move on to that game after this quick ad.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello, it's Dave Clark of the Racing Post. This is the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast, joined by colleagues Dan Childs and Mark Langdon in the studio. On the line, we've got Adrian Croker from Paddy Power, and Man City, fresh from their demolition job of West Ham Wednesday night, are hosting Swansea. Adrian, got some prices for us, please?
So City are 1 to 5 to win it. The draw is 11 to 2, and Swansea at the moment stand at 14 to 1.
And how do you see this one going?
Oh, I can't see it anyway. Man City were electric last night. They were phenomenal. Swansea have had a great two wins on the trot, but they have struggled all season. I can only see a City win here.
And Mark, I turned it off last night after the third goal winning. I was pleasantly surprised to see that City only got 4, but from what I saw, it could have been double figures easily. Yeah,
I think they could have got close to double figures against Tottenham as well. In the previous Premier League game, they were. I thought they were even better that night than what they were at West Ham. I think Guardiola has found the team and the system now that he likes. Slightly surprised that involves Yaya Toure in front of the defence, but you're not asking him to run around anymore, which I think helps.
From the cold Toure,
yeah,
isn't he? Yeah,
you've got Silva and De Bruyne sort of can pick passes from deep, particularly De Bruyne. He's finding more space the further back he goes, and he's picking out these passes for the speed of Sterling and Sane on the wings. And then, I mean, it was frightening for West Ham when Sergio Aguero came off the bench, with the game already up. I mean, if Aguero does sort of get in ahead of Jesus, you imagine he's going to be hungry and sort of determined. If Jesus plays, you've just got a phenomenal talent up there. I think Man City are the team that could lay down the threat to Chelsea if it's to come from anywhere. Just clean sheet wise, though, I mean, they've only kept 3 clean sheets in 15 home matches. 2 of those were in the Champions League against Gladbach and Steaua Bucharest. Swansea...
Going to park the bus, surely.
Well, I suppose they will, but I mean, they've got a threat from set pieces in Sigurdsson, so you don't actually have to do that much to get the ball into the City box. They scored a couple at Arsenal, they scored 3 at Liverpool. Not a great betting heat for me. I'm going to go City to win and both teams to score, which I know is against what Dan's about to say.
Yeah.
I've just seen his notes.
No, I know this doesn't look a good one on the stats because of what we've said about Manchester City's defence this season and that they haven't kept many clean sheets. But I'm looking for an angle on this. And I mean, when they started playing this team they're playing now with Toure in front of the back four, I worried for City defensively. I thought, is he going to give that back four enough protection? But what they're doing is they're defending right from the front of the pitch. The likes of Sterling, Sane, Jesus are really, I mean, they've been fantastic going forward, but they're working really hard as well, and they're defending from the front. And it's making it very, very hard for teams to get at City and to get at that back four because they're defending from the front. And I just think Swansea here, it's a game for them. It's a bit of a free hit, I suppose, but also they're going to be worried about taking a big battering. They've won 3 of the last 4 games. They're not going to want to go to City and lose, 4-5-0. I think it'll be a game, might be a damage limitation exercise for Swansea. And I think City are keeping the ball so well at the moment and defending so well from the front that I don't see them conceding. And I think City wins 1-0 evens is reasonable.
What do we think about Sterling? Sort of under the radar, he's just going about his business and seems to be sort of back to his best.
To be fair, has been excellent all season. I thought right at the start, everyone was worrying about him after he had a poor Euros, but right at the start of the season, I thought he was one of their best players, and he's carried that on. I think some of their players have sparked in the last couple of months, but Sterling has been consistent, I think, all the way through.
Just lacks a bit of efficiency in the box, but I think he's getting better. His final sort of delivery, his final choice is getting better, and he's still only young. I mean, that front three last night, I mean, it could be City's front three for the next 10 years. I mean, it won't
around
be.
20,
the way that football works, it won't be. But very exciting times, and I think you can look at the way Mourinho treated Martial when he came back from a dodgy Euros. Took his shirt off him and gave it to Ibrahimovic and has sort of dumped him compared to how Guardiola has treated Sterling.
Put the arm round him.
And I think that's the difference in the two gaffers.
Right, we're on to the madness of Mourinho and Leicester City, who Adrian's already sort of given a mention to, are at home to Man United in the 4 o'clock game on Sunday. Adrian, got a show for us there, please?
Yep, Leicester are 4-1. The draw is 27-10, and Man United stand at 8-11 at the moment.
And as you've already mentioned, you're massively against United.
Yeah, it just seems too short to me. It's same as Stoke the last week. I don't think I'm not buying this Man United turnaround. The run they went on was winning against some of the weakest teams in the league. It still took them late for quite often. I was agreement when Dan said earlier, Man United at 6th in the league. They are the 6th best team of the top ones up there. They're going to struggle towards the top 4, and away games against a team like Leicester. Like Leicester have been poor this season, but the table doesn't reflect where they should be, really.
And Adrian, I take it Paddy Power took the whole lot in midweek. I mean, you couldn't have asked for better results. I mean, nearly all of the top 6 messed it up.
I think Paddy picked the results himself. They couldn't have been better. They in no way could have been better. You get the mix of a few draws in there, so you don't have all the underdogs win and somebody clicking a massive 6-fold there either. But could not beat those results for the weekend. So this weekend you'll probably see all the Favs win.
Mark, how do we see this game going? Leicester struggling?
They are struggling, yeah. I mean, they've been better at home. I mean, I suppose that's natural. Most teams are, but I mean that they've sort of raised their level a little bit and beaten Manchester City, haven't they? But I mean, I just see a very poor team. If you take last season out of the equation, I know it's difficult to do, but I mean, the season before they were massively fighting against relegation, just got out of it late on. In the summer, most people expected them to be struggling. Now, of course, they went on to win the league, but now they're back struggling again. Just got to accept that last season was a complete and utter freak, as far as I'm concerned. I was heading to the goal scorer market here. I think Pogba gets forward a lot for United in particularly sort of in away games when Mourinho kind of plays him a bit closer to Ibrahimovic and likes to get the two central midfielders definitely in there. Pogba was he sort of went close a couple of times against Hull, looked as likely as anybody to break the deadlock. He of course scored at Hull in the League Cup as well. I know Paddy's the shortest in the world about Pogba to score the first goal, but that's where I was looking. I'm not Leicester in that position in front of the back four without Kante. It's been one of their big problems this season. I think someone like Pogba can take advantage.
Going forward, what sort of role do we see Pogba playing in that Man United side? Because he's played different positions.
He has played different positions. I think probably sort of almost as like the number 10. I mean, he's not a natural number 10 in his body shape, and he plays it differently to let's say a Lanzini or somebody like that. But he's definitely getting forward. He has a lot of shots as well. You look at the shot stats. I mean, he's one of the highest shooters in the Premier League. Maybe doesn't always shoot from the right positions, it has to be said. But he in sort of the words of Andy Gray, he buys enough tickets. He buys enough lottery tickets, and it's a difficult game for me. I know the lads want to be against United. I'm not as convinced, but by that argument, so I'll go for Pogba to score first.
Dan Childs.
Yeah, no, I'm against United here as well. I think the double chance is the way to go. I look at, as poor as Leicester have been, 18 of their 21 points have come at home, so they are a lot stronger at home. They have, obviously in the Champions League on the big nights they've played well. They've actually done well against some big teams in the Premier League as well. They've got a draw at Spurs, drew at home to Arsenal, won at home to Man City. So it's a sign that maybe some of these players that won the title, they're raising their game sometimes for the big games and not
this
so
is
much
one
for
of them. Yeah,
this is a big game for them, and they didn't play terribly at Burnley in the week. I mean, Burnley's a really tough ground to go to this season. They would have got a draw if it wasn't for the poor decision, the handball that wasn't given there, that led to Burnley's goal. So they could have took a good point there in the week, and I just think United are really unconvincing at the moment. The 3 draws in a row in the league, 1 win in 5, and they just don't convince me as odds on away from home.
Okay, mixed views. Right, thank you, gents, for your time. And join us next Thursday. We've got a belter, Spurs versus Liverpool. Listen out on iTunes, SoundCloud. Catch us on YouTube and all sorts. And also keep a lookout for the Super Bowl and Six Nations podcast if egg chasing is your thing. And we'll catch you next week. Thank you very much.
Check out Paddy's new kicker feature. If you fancy your team to run riot, add a kicker to your bet. And if your team win big, you win bigger. Paddy Power, you beauty.